Shalom, hello, and a big welcome to this Ryan Reacts video, and thank you for joining us for our countdown to Rotterdam. This year's Eurovision Song Contest is only a few weeks away, so to celebrate, we are looking back at our three favourite songs from each of this year's 39 competing countries, and for this video, we are looking back at our favourite entries from Israel. Joining me once again is my good friend Scott from Scotland, live from Jerusalem. Good evening, Scott.
Shalom, Ertov, Manishma.
He's fluent. So, Israel, they debuted in 1973 and since have bagged themselves 4 Eurovision victories. So to kick things off, I'm going to start with my third favourite Israeli entry. Now, Scott, I know you're not a fan of this one, but for me, I love this song. I'm going to 2016. The artist is Hovi Star, and the song Made of Stars. Now, in the grand final, it qualified and it placed 14th, which I don't think is bad. For me, 2016 is probably one of the strongest modern contests in terms of quality of songs. But this was a standout for ballads. I thought this was staged really beautifully. I liked the LED flooring, I liked the lighting, the pyro worked well. I was distracted by the couple dancing in the big hoop. I thought that was completely unnecessary. It was a distraction, but still, as a song, I thought this was a really, really nice ballad. I thought he's got an interesting look to him, but I still think for the performance, he was in the black with kind of like the sparkle shoes and the sleeves, but it kind of worked. It kind of blended into the background. He sung it well. What I liked is because this had really nice progression. It started as a very mellow, beautiful ballad, and then it kicked in. It got a bit rocky for the final bridge, for the bridge into the final chorus, and then it kind of exploded. Overall, a really good package for me. Not an obvious choice for Israel's entries throughout the years, but for me, I really stand out, and I like listening to that song. So, handing over to you, Scott, for your third favourite entry.
I should just say, in defense of Made of Stars, Israel did a great revamp of the song, because when you think of it from the time that Hovi Star won the Next Star, I think that was the competition, the song Made of Stars at that time just wasn't great. So they turned things around and really presented a strong song when it came to Eurovision. Not something that I would go for, but I appreciate and respect that's the one that you like. So for me, Israel is one of my favorite countries in the Eurovision Song Contest, and you and I both had the opportunity to visit Israel back in 2019 when they hosted the Eurovision, and both of us hold fantastic memories of there. To me, it's one of the best places I've ever been to, and we're hoping to go back one day. As regards to Eurovision, as I said, one of my favorite countries. I look forward to the Israeli entry every year, and I'm glad that Israel is a part of Eurovision. I love some of their classic songs, and I love some of their singers. From Yardina Razi, she's just a megastar. But let's move on. My third favorite Israeli entry, and it was his comeback to Eurovision. Izar Cohen had won the Eurovision in 1978, but he returned in 1985 with the song Ole Ole. Now, this was tipped to do well. It was his second favorite prior to the competition. And on the night, there were some sound problems with one of the backing singers, so it sounded as though she was really screeching. But he came on very confident. It was very colourful and very fitting for the 80s. And again, it features one of Israel's trademarks in Eurovision, which is like a backing singer gathered together and swaying. If you look at the Israeli entries across the years, they always have this thing with backing singers all joined together, so everything's like harmonious in unity, and maybe that's the way things should be. Literally ended on 5th place of the night, and I think if you look at 1985, it's one of my favourite years in Eurovision, so yeah, I would give him 5th place for that one.
So back to me for my second favorite from Israel. I'm going back just a few years. This time it's 2015. The artist was Nadav, and the song was Golden Boy. Now, in the grand final after qualifying, this placed ninth. The first thing I'm going to say about this, and this blew my mind when I found out that he was 16 when he performed at Eurovision, and if you look back at the performance, it just doesn't make sense because he is the most grown-up, mature-looking 16-year-old I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, the song was really fun, really contemporary. It had really beautiful kind of like Israeli ethnic sounds to it. What I loved again with the progression of this song is how it started, and you kind of think this is going to be like a quite peaceful ballad. He's kind of like singing his mom. He's broken-hearted, and then suddenly it goes into this big explosive dance banger. The dancers kind of come on, and it kind of seems like they're almost like improvising because they're kind of like floppy and just kind of like following him along the stage. But it really worked. It was gold and it was red. It was explosive. I think for me, looking back and thinking about 2015, it maybe performing third in the night knocked his chances because I actually think this could have placed a lot higher. So maybe the running order played a part in the result, but still, ninth, a really strong result, a really strong performance. It just looked polished. It was fun. The camera at the end, they had a lot of fun with this, and it just worked on stage. So a really strong song, and my number two.
Come on, hey, say I'm the king of fun. Let me show you how we do it on my golden boy. Come here to enjoy, and before I leave, let me show
Back to you.
Yeah, so Golden Boy, I think we've spoken about this when we spoke about the Serbian video. On the night in the hall in Vienna, the biggest cheers went to Serbia and to Israel.
And
But
the UK. No.
the cheers that you hear on TV are not the cheers that you hear in the arena.
I'm not surprised there.
But anyway, Israel did get one of the biggest cheers of the night in Vienna, but unfortunately that does not translate to votes. But it was good to see Israel finally getting to qualify for the Eurovision because they'd even considered pulling out. So who knows, had he not qualified, maybe Israel would not be with us now. For myself, I am going to go back to a very symbolic and a very important song for Israel in the Eurovision Song Contest. Ofra Haza, she came second in Munich in 1982 for Israel with the song High, which means alive. And the lyric reads, Israel, I am still alive. Very symbolic because for the people of Israel, they were performing in Munich, the scene of the terrorist attack at the Munich Olympics 11 years earlier in 1972. And it was also really where the Nazi rising started. So there was all the symbolism about how through the troubles and through all the chaos, should I say, and through all the violence, that Israel is still here and is still with us. So yeah, it's a very uplifting song, a very powerful song, and a very meaningful song for those in Israel. She was a fantastic singer, and her second place at the Eurovision really kicked off an international career for her. She went on to great things before sadly passing away in 2000. A very memorable song. My personal winner, favorite Eurovision is Luxembourg of '83, but I love this Israeli song. I would have been happy if either song won.
Okay, strong year.
Yeah.
So to round things off then with our number ones. So this, you've already mentioned this artist, Isaac Cohen. This time, first time with Alpha Beta. And it was 1978. I always get confused because there was 79 and 78. Israel won both times. But yeah, 1978, and the song was Abani B. This, for me, is a standout. I don't know what it is about the music, but it's just, I can't help but kind of like bop along to this. I just thought it was fun. It almost kind of like reminded me of like a movie soundtrack. I don't know why, but I just kind of like picture like driving through the city and just kind of having this kind of, I don't know, instrumental going, something in my head.
Maybe that was your taxi in Tel Aviv.
Quite possibly. Maybe just being in Tel Aviv and hearing it, I just picture being on a holiday by the sea and skyscrapers. Who knows? But yeah, I'm not one that listens to a lot of older Eurovision songs, but this is one that I do. This is one that I really enjoy. And it was a no-brainer looking through the entries of Israel and thinking about my top three. This was a clear number one, a deserving winner. And yeah, I just think it's really fun, really funky, quite modern for its time, but a deserving win. So that's number one from me. Back to you in Jerusalem.
Back here in Jerusalem. So for me, I am going to choose my favorite Eurovision entry from Israel is 2014, Mia Feingold with the song Same Heart. Now, to me, this still troubles me today that this song did not qualify. Mm-hmm. When you watch her performance, she was an established singer, she was an established stage performer, and the song just built. She, in a modern Israeli Eurovision song, she encompassed some Hebrew into the song. It was very powerful. We know that Netta would come along a few years at a time to speak about women's empowerment, but really that perhaps was shown here in Mia Feingold's song. Some people, and I don't want to hijack your video with politics, but I remember being in Copenhagen that year and seeing so many stickers of boycott Israel, don't vote for Israel. And I'm thinking, this is a song contest. It's not a political contest. We've got no control on the politics of any country. We can even look at our own. If you vote for the song, she should have been up there. She was my favorite to win, along with Hungary. She didn't qualify, but when you see the crowd, they are going wild for her. Perhaps, if you think about it, over the history of Eurovision, one of the biggest reactions to a song in Eurovision history. But she didn't qualify. That would be my number one. Israel have got a fantastic history in Eurovision, and I love them, and I love hearing what they come up with every year. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be back to Israel again.
Well, I mean, who knows? Yeah, Israel are one of the countries that I really look forward to. There are a few Israeli entries that I kind of say, this is terrible, I don't like listening to this. The majority have some good quality. Yes, hand up.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. School Teacher. One thing I was going to say was you and I both obviously have got some Israeli friends, and they may be watching this video. You spoke about Golden Boy with the dance, and and there might be some people watching this video that remember the Euro Club in 2015 and at the Women Jam Party in 2016 when that song came on. And that's how they first got talking to me, because they saw this Scottish boy doing this Israeli dance. So Israel's got a lot to answer for. Yeah, no, Israel has a close place in my heart, and Tel Aviv is my favorite city I've been to as of yet. And I also would say, I've only ever been to Eurovision twice, 2018, 2019. But the way that Tel Aviv embraced Eurovision was just kind of next level, and they absolutely smashed it.
and going back to what you were saying about politics, whether people disagree or agree watching this, politics unfortunately do play a role in Eurovision sometimes, some years more often than others. And I do think that it may have in 2014, but Israel are a country that reinvent themselves, think out the box. In 2017, they announced that their broadcaster was closing down and that Israel may be out. And then Can 1 came alive and they thought, we'll enter, and they won straight off the bat. And to Tel Aviv we went. So to anybody that feels disheartened or thinks, we're never going to win, even the UK fans, because I know the UK fans, we love a moan. It's possible. Israel did it. Portugal did it after 50 years. It can happen. So, and Israel is a clear example of that. But anyway, enough of that. Let us know your favorite Israeli entry of all time. Drop us a comment. As always, like, dislike, share, please subscribe. Big thanks to Scott for joining me for this, and a big thanks to you guys for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.